Springfield's Talk 104.1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday. My name is Nick Reed. Sarah Myers is back.
Yay, here I am.
Yeah.
What is happening over here?
I don't know.
Who had my mic up there?
Oh, it was, that Saturday crew. This room was filled for that show.
Yeah.
So that's what happened over there. Did you find your fudge?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
I got all kinds of goodies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my whole desk was just full of mail and all kinds of fun stuff.
Well.
It was a nice little welcome back present.
So everyone is glad you're back. That way the
YouTube Live is on.
YouTube Live is on, and the podcast will be up faster.
Okay, good.
And I just flat out, I think, forgot Thursday. I don't know. I was very busy. We had this sales initiative going on. And so I spent 2 days I wasn't nearly as involved as everyone else was. But, I spent a little time, and I just was doing things out of pattern. And I just flat out forgot until somebody on Friday told me.
So
I was like, oh, my gosh. And I said, well, there must have been a glitch. And I went, and I just never even did it.
So what I'm hearing is you missed me.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say in my own way of saying it.
I hear you. So. Well, I'm happy to be back.
So we are back on YouTube.
Yep.
And Jimmy Kimmel will be back on in some markets. Yeah. So there are now, and we'll get to what details are available. Evidently, he's not going to apologize. Here's the thing. I think that people on the left really overestimate how much the rest of us care about Jimmy Kimmel. We don't watch it because it's just kind of bitter and angry and not funny, and it's just very redundant. You know exactly what you're going to get, which is why his ratings have just crashed over the past few years. And so, they act as if this is some huge battle with Trump supporters doing it. I think I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of Trump supporters that have just a snippet of joy, given how many times he has celebrated people losing their jobs because of things that they've said. And then there is the smack of the forehead when a lot of normal people then see him complain or his supporters complain that you shouldn't lose your job because of something that you said. Well, he has celebrated that on numerous occasions. So there is that component to it, but ultimately, I think he's just these people in the end are very irrelevant, and if anything, they are a bit helpful to Donald Trump because they further solidify that Trump is the working man's guy and the working party president, while the left, every time there's some multimillionaire that might lose his job, the left rallies around that individual. And the left and the Jimmy Kimmels and the Stephen Colberts and the Jon Stewarts and all those Hollywood people do more for Donald Trump in terms of helping define the left as the party of the uber rich and white rich guy. So they actually are helpful to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump knows that. But it is the one thing about it that's remarkable to me, and I know it is to so many of you as well, how few people actually watch the guy's show. And in the demographic that really matters, that they are able, because why do ratings matter? For one reason, the more people that are watching, the more you are able to charge advertisers, because that's the more eyeballs that are receiving the message of the advertisers. But there are certain demographics that are more relevant than others. So when you're just looking at overall numbers, I think what they're like, 1.2 million or something, that doesn't matter when it comes to how much you charge advertisers. There are specific demographics that are the money demographics. They're the demographics that advertisers say, okay, well, those are the people who spend money, particularly for our sort of product, and so that's who we're targeting. Well, when it comes to those numbers, the numbers that really matter, it's like 123,000. There are more people in the city limits of Springfield than that. And you're talking about he's in markets like New York and Los Angeles, Chicago, Seattle, Portland. In any one of those markets, he should have 129,000 people. You think about across this entire country, including cities that are extreme left cities that have millions and millions of people, and he has 129,000 of that key demographic viewership. That is insane to me. And he's getting paid anywhere from 16 to 20 $1 million a season, and that's not the cost of the show itself. That's what he's getting paid. Which, of course, again, why the left loves him so much, because there's no person the left has learned to rally around more than either criminals or really, really, really rich white guys. Generally, those that are a little bit older. And this is clearly a consistent sign that we're seeing in different forms coming up. CNN shared a new survey, and it shows that Republicans in all of the key areas are beating Democrats. This is not good news for the upcoming midterms. We kept hearing about how, with the economy, and if things don't really dramatically turn up in a way that people are really recognizing, it's going to be over for Republicans. Well, I think it's fair to say that the real true feeling of a much better economy, to the degree that it will in all likelihood be, we're not feeling that yet. That being said, Democrats still are not coming out ahead. We'll play some of that audio coming up. Now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 75. Tonight, showers will continue with a low around 64. For your Wednesday, a 60% chance of showers with a high near 74. And taking a look at Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 76.
Springfield's Talk 1041. I am Nick Reed, streaming live, KSGF.com. Yesterday, CNN sharing a new survey crushing the narrative that Americans are not happy with the moves by President Donald Trump's administration when it comes to policies on things like crime, economy, and immigration.
Marry issues, some major issues, rather. CNN's Harry Anton. Marry depends on your perspective, I guess.
I am not married.
I said marry as in happy. Anyway, let's talk about this. What do you think?
Yeah, what are we seeing? Donald Trump being underwater, Democrats saying, oh, this guarantees us we're going to fly high in the midterms. Let me tell you, this guarantees you nothing, because at this particular point, the Democrats are the New Orleans Saints of political parties. What are we talking about? Trust the Dems or GOP more on the economy? Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime? A big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Look at that. Lead by 22 points. So the bottom line is this. At this particular point, the ball may be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues, the economy, immigration, and crime.
Give some context on this. Compare this when Republicans last took the House.
Yeah, let's compare it back to 2022. I think this kind of gives away the game right here. Okay, the GOP is more trusted than the Dems on the economy. It was 12 points in 2022. Slight decline in that lead, but still 7 points. How about immigration? It was Republicans by 3 back in 2022. Look at this. The Republican lead's actually gone up by 10 points. What are you doing, Democrats? My goodness gracious. And on crime, the Republicans were up by 13, and now they're up by 22. The lead, again, expanding by nearly double digits. So whatever Democrats are doing, it ain't working, Kate. It ain't working. Republicans have the lead on all 3 issues.
What's the reason that you are finding so far that's driving this?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all about the center of the electorate, right? You win with independents, you win overall. And what do we see right here among independents? Republicans still have a point lead on the economy. They got a 10-point lead on immigration. They got a 21-point lead on crime. The bottom line is when you look at these numbers, Democrats should call their offices because at this particular point, even if Republicans or even if the public doesn't like what Donald Trump is doing, they ain't necessarily liking what Democrats are doing. And it ain't just a referendum on one party. You actually have to go out and beat that party at this particular point. Democrats are not able to beat Republicans. They still
and again, this isn't as Donald Trump came into office. These are numbers from this month.
These are numbers from September of 2025. We still find that the Republicans leading on all 3 of these issues. And of course, this economy will be the key. If Democrats are going to win, they're going to have to likely win on the economy. At this particular point among independents, you see that 1-point lead for Republicans. And overall, at least according to the Washington Post, they hold a 7-point lead on the economy overall as well.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.
Sarah.
Clearly not a good sign for Democrats, and this is why they just continue to scream racist, fascist, Hitler, dictator, because they continue to lose on the things that matter to the average American person. So they have to. So instead, what do? They cater to the extreme wing of their party, those that get activated by such terminology, and we've seen how it is that they behave when they sometimes even successfully murder people that they are told are fascist and racist and all of the litany of names that the Democrats tout out. It becomes clear why they go that route, because their policies are policies of failure. And this isn't the Democrat Party of the 90s that when they realized they were losing on the issues, they did a pivot so that they were a better reflection of what the American people were concerned about, responded. They saw themselves as, we need to be seen as, by the American people, a representation of what their concerns are. And all they've managed to do, you think about 2 of the issues that they've screamed loudest about, the border and crime, which oftentimes go hand in hand. But they run around screaming, and they have these anti-ICE protests. In fact, Gavin Newsom has just made a move to force any law enforcement that is covering their face in order to protect themselves and family from drug cartels, that they have to remove the mask so that they can be exposed to those entities. And just the protest and the constant pushing back against enforcing our immigration laws. Well, that clearly has helped Trump in the eyes of the American people. And the mistake that the Democrats make is that they are incapable of making measured responses because they're so hysterical. Instead of simply, because I think it could be effective if they were like, hey, we agree criminals should be deported, but golly gee whiz, we see some of these people that are hard-working immigrants who have come to this country and they just want a better life and they should not be deported. But if that was the constant message by itself, I think that they could make up more ground on this particular issue. But they can't help themselves. Instead, they rally around some of the worst criminals. This Garcia guy, whose wife went, I think twice, if not twice, at least once, before a judge begging for a restraining order to protect her against his abuse. He's a human trafficker. He is a member of a gang. He is someone that, according to the investigations, had a real problem with underage kids to the point that other gang members were like, cut it out. And that's the sort of person they rally around. And then, of course, they support those that try to do harm physically to ICE members, and that turns people off. As much as people, and you hear it from Democrats, that, well, the American people don't approve of some of these nonviolent criminals being deported, and that may be true, but they disapprove more of your response to it. They disapprove more of masked individuals trying to harm or even kill members of ICE or the National Guard or law enforcement that is helping enforce our immigration laws. That they care about more. And then when it comes to the crime issue, I mean, that has just been such a clear loser for the Democrats. And I'm telling you, it is the neighborhoods of color that are really doing an about-face on this, because you just follow the trends and you see the people that are posting, and we played some of the audio for you, the people who are posting in support of Donald Trump in the cities, bringing in National Guard to help with crime, are not the traditional Trump supporters. Most of them are female women of color. And they are noting that, well, look at all the rich white people who are opposed to Donald Trump coming into Chicago. Look at all the rich white people. They're out here protesting Trump in Baltimore. Must be nice living in your gated communities while our kids are failing at reading and math and can't hardly walk across the street without the potential, of getting shot. Which is why you've seen a massive increase in support for the GOP, which is Trump, when it comes to dealing with crime. And they clearly are demonstrating, as a party, they have no interest in actually making life better through their policies for the people they represent, which is why they're doubling down on trying to convince the crazies in their party that Republicans are an existential threat, that democracy as we know it is in peril, and we're dealing with fascist and dictator wannabes. That's all they got. Unfortunately, it's dangerous. And it is causing people with mental issues and emotional issues to go out and murder people or try to murder people. But at this point, that's what the Democrat Party has become. And with the exception of the very, very few, like the Fetterman's Democrat senator of Pennsylvania, the other Democrats are rolling right along with it. Coming up, I want to talk about comments that a counter-protester made to KY3 regarding the Charlie Kirk Vigil Memorial on the MSU campus. But I did want to update you on a couple of things. We had talked about this deputy in Dent County, which is over in central southern Missouri, and she had posted on social media, which, as you can imagine, got some attention. Let me see here. Printed it off. She had said of Charlie Kirk, and this was in a comment section of people honoring him, quote, he was a racist, sexist, anti-Semitic, and thought people like your own brother should be executed, among his other views, which, of course, he's never hoped anyone would be executed, so disinformation there. She went on to say, I feel badly for his wife and kids, but when you bring this blank to your own doorstep like he did, you have to expect people are going to walk through the door. I refuse to feel bad for this man and the hateful things he stood for, period, cost and consequences. So she's saying he had it coming. When you say the things that she claims he said, which he didn't say, then, hey, this is what happens. And so, as you can understand, there were a number of people in that county in particular that didn't feel very comfortable with someone who had the power of the shield and a firearm, who believed that, if you espouse certain beliefs that, maybe I don't agree with, and you end up shot, you just got to expect that to happen. And there was and I had sent a inquiry to the sheriff there asking if there were any further updates, and I didn't see any response. But there was a regular Dent County Commission meeting on September 11th, and there were numerous people that had showed up in order to express their concerns. And, a lot of them were saying, hey, listen, yeah, I agree that people have a right to express their opinions, but this is a woman with a gun and a badge. I mean, can you understand how people that may be Trump supporters, you get pulled over at 2 a.m. by somebody in the Dent County Sheriff's Department and you have a Trump sticker on it, is it going to be her? Do I have to worry about, how she's going to treat me? I already know she thinks that if I get killed, I have it coming. She was put on leave with pay, but apparently she has voluntarily left, as best I can piece it together. And there is a GoFundMe for her. It is, let's see, $5,000 has been raised to get Julie and the family away from the MAGA mob. I'm so grateful for all the contributions, and it was to, I guess, help make up for lost wages or something. And at the same time, I was going through the Springfield City Council roundup, and I still did not see any sort of action taken in the same manner the city took action regarding George Floyd and his death, in which there was a big old resolution written up, and they created this whole new, I don't think it was a department, but it was this group under the mayor's initiative in order to make sure that, we're a better city and DEI and all that sort of stuff. And to me, it just seems that the same thing should be done for Christians and conservatives, Trump supporters. I don't know if the city of Springfield has the character to do that, or because here's the thing, when you demonstrate that the death of an individual outside of your jurisdiction, that as a city, when you find it worthy, you will take some sort of action, whether it's honoring that individual or even creating some new committee in order to make sure that we do our job to make sure that sort of thing doesn't happen there. Well, when you don't do it for the next person, you're suggesting, well, they don't count as much. He's just a Christian conservative that was shot. We don't need to worry about any sort of resolution or we don't need to waste our time with that. It's just another, plus, you know how many Christians are around here anyway? We've got too many of them anyhow. It's one less to worry about. And maybe they have something in the plans, but I went through on KY3's site, Springfield City Council Roundup, September 22nd, and they had city utility rate increases and property tax and business license ordinance that they're going to start enforcing on business owners and so forth, and then Scenic Avenue Bridge, but nothing about protecting or creating a safer environment for Christians or conservatives in the city of Springfield.
Field's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 75. Tonight, showers will continue with a low around 64. For your Wednesday, a 60% chance of showers with a high near 74. And taking a look at Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 76.
A couple weeks away, Farm Fest 2025. We're going to be out there again. Last year was the first year we just really went out there and immersed ourselves in it, and it was awesome. I mean, we could barely go from one partner location to another without running into somebody that was a listener of the station. So we're like, we got to do this. In fact, we're going to do even more than last year. Last year, we did the morning show out there, and then we did the show on Saturday at noon, spent a couple hours after that, and then Sunday as well. So this year, we're going to be out there, do the show on Friday, and then we're going to start visiting some of our partners that are out there. Sandcrest Trailer Sales, a huge one. Flying Feathers, St. Clair of the Ozarks, just some of them. And Saturday, instead of noon, I'll be doing Sarah's show out there at 10 a.m., and then we'll spend the afternoon visiting, again, Sandcrest Trailer Sales, Crown Power Equipment, Race Brothers, and Sunday doing the same thing. Won't be doing a whole show out there, but we'll stop in with Honda of the Ozarks, Wheeler Metals, and some of the others as well, Superior Metals, Springfield Livestock. So, and not in that order and on those in particular days, but as you can tell, we're going to be quite busy. And so when you listen Friday through Sunday during Farm Fest, which is October 3rd through the 5th, you are going to hear us out there throughout the day. Is that?
It's that timer.
Yeah, we
that
got to figure out how to turn. Hold on.
I don't know how to do that.
All right, we'll have to figure out how to turn that off there.
Here, give me the remote.
Okay.
Give me that.
There we go. I got it. I put a. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I wanted to play audio for you. First, I was going to play, since we're partners with Ozarks First, audio of their coverage of the Charlie Kirk Vigil at Missouri State, which was quite a success. It was very well attended. And then, out of curiosity, I also watched KY3 story, and I thought, no, I want to air, not the whole story, but they spoke with some, quote, counter-protesters. And I'll say this, they found someone that didn't come off as crazy, which is good, because you could see some of them there where, as some girl, walking around with a poorly made sign, "Stop immortalizing a racist," it's just like, you idiot. What a waste of money that person is spent. Just idiots. So they found some gal who actually was pretty well spoken. But here's what she had to say about the event in Charlie Kirk.
A small group of counter-protesters, including Valley Cortez, showed up to the vigil on campus.
People have this confirmation bias that they're correct and nobody else is correct. They think that one fact or one thing is their way and everybody else is wrong. So being out here, hopefully they can see it, and hopefully it'll distinguish in their brains that there are opposing sides, not just the one side they think is right.
Now, okay, I know what many of you are thinking. Wait, does she know she's on the wrong side of this? Now, in her mind, she is believing that those who are there in order to honor Charlie Kirk, to be part of the vigil, all have confirmation bias and don't realize that there are other perspectives out there. And I know what you're saying. Really? You're pointing to us and say that? But the larger point here, who is the one person that did more to demonstrate that than anyone in our country? I'll give you a hint. He was assassinated by a left-winger. The irony of this person that is there as a counter-protester to Charlie Kirk, arguing that the reason the counter-protesters are there are to make sure that supporters of Charlie Kirk understand that there are different perspectives. No one did that to a greater degree than Charlie. That's what he did. This is where you just really want to sit down with these people. And I'm not a reporter, I'm not a journalist, but that would be my first instinct. Well, isn't that what Charlie Kirk did? Is that not exactly the point? His entire purpose, going around college campuses, was so people would hear diverse perspectives. He put those with different points of view at the front of the line so that people would hear the different points of view and hear them debated. And it should be a no-brainer on university campuses. It's the fact that he had to do this in the place that needed it the most, and that was university campuses, is just a demonstration of culturally what a complete and colossal dumpster fire our universities are. It should be the last place somebody like Charlie Kirk needed to go in order to stimulate intellectual debate and conversation, because it should be so overflowing with it that there's no need to have somebody else come in and try to get things going. But you get a sense of what a different world these people live in and how truly detached they are. That a counter-protester to Charlie Kirk's memorial saying that she just really hopes that the existence of these counter-protesters will enlighten these people into understanding their different perspectives. If that's what you really wanted, if you really, truly believed that that is something that is needed and the recognition of different perspectives, you're on the wrong side. You should have been there holding a candle, not a protest sign. Because Charlie Kirk was the one guy doing what it is that you claim you wanted done. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. You got home buy needs, home selling needs, questions, changes in interest rates, changes the marketplace, how quickly homes go. You, a few years ago, put a house on the market, and you really didn't have to do anything because you had a line out the door, people making offers, outbidding each other sometimes. And so the needs to maybe change some stuff up or do repairs weren't necessarily the sort of thing you had to do in order to make sure you got your home moved as quickly as possible. But landscape's a little different now. But this is why you need Emily Johnson. She will let you know. Don't do anything at all. Don't spend any money. Don't say, well, I don't want to have her come over thinking that I think this house is market ready because I'll be embarrassed. Don't. Because you may end up spending money in an area that is counterproductive, doesn't help you at all. In the meantime, there may be other areas that you do need to spend money in order to do some sort of alteration to your home, some upkeep that you didn't know about, and you've already spent it on something else that you didn't need to do, and it's a whole thing. So just get with her. Tell her you're thinking about putting her house on the market. Even if it's next year, you're just preparing ahead of time. Because sometimes these improvements take time. You're a DIYer. Get with her. She'll come. She'll let you know what it is that the current marketplace would require for you to sell your home as quickly and for as much as you possibly can get. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. There's this, all over the place, and I'm mentioning this story for a specific reason. At the risk of being somewhat redundant, but, it's somebody else fired because they did some, Charlie Kirk. And people just don't understand that not everyone likes to be around angry, nasty people. When you have someone, whether it's a barista or a neurosurgeon, that says mean and nasty things about a human being that was murdered, and those individuals lose their employment, the left, they just see it as, oh, well, they're punishing them because they don't like Charlie Kirk. Sometimes it's just, and here's the thing about mean, nasty people. Oftentimes they don't realize that they are mean and nasty. They think that they're normal. really, really, just bitter people are oftentimes, and there are some people, usually it's a guy. If a guy's a real a-hole, so he's like, I know I'm an a-hole, that's just the way I am. But generally speaking, people that are off-putting, people that are not pleasant to be around, they think that they're normal. Everyone else is usually the problem. So you have an individual that will lose their job because it turns out they're just a bad person, or at least they are acting in a manner that bad people ask. Then they lose their jobs, and they think it's because, well, it must be some Trump supporter that this or that. No, you're just not nice. You're an ugly person. And generally speaking, good management likes to have a culture of positivity within staff, likes to have, not that everyone has to be sunshine and lollipops every day, but just sort of a baseline of we all get along, we're all happy. And when you're just an ugly, mean, nasty, hateful person, sometimes people just don't want to be around you. And customers are the same. Newsflash, might even not be for political reasons that you lose your job. So there's a Starbucks story. Ohio woman ordered Charlie Kirk's go-to Starbucks drink on Sunday evening and was startled to find a hateful message written on the cup. Autumn Perkins, who lives in Middletown, Ohio, visited the Starbucks location inside Kroger and run by Kroger to order the Mint Majesty with 2 honeys. And this is something that is known to be the drink that Charlie Kirk preferred because he was asked once by a college student at the little events that he would have, what is your order? And he said it's the Mint Majesty with 2 honeys. And in fact, there was an effort online. What's the? It's not GoFundMe, but it's the one where you try to get something done. You get enough signatures. What's that site called? You know what I'm talking about?
Is it change.org?
Yeah, it changed.
Okay.
I think it's change.org to get Starbucks to make that the official drink of Charlie Kirk. And I was like, if ever I just saw a waste of time, that was it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but it's Starbucks after all. I think we know Starbucks' political leanings, generally speaking. So when she, at Starbucks, if you don't know, they'll put your name on the cup. They write your name on it. It's supposed to really give you that connection, so you feel as if this is small town coffee shop. They know who I am. They wrote my name on it. Well, when the customer ordered the Mint Majestic with 2 honeys, the employee wrote, instead of the person's name, racist favorite drink. And this individual lost her job. Because, again, you're just not doing your job very well. It's not a pro-Charlie Kirk, anti-Charlie Kirk thing. But now my first thought, honest to goodness, and I know this isn't fair to all, because I know the vast majority of Starbucks employees are probably perfectly fine and normal. Starbucks is one of the last places that I would go and order a drink that they specifically believed or understood I was ordering in order to, honor somebody who's conservative. You want to talk about worrying about somebody doing something to your drink. And, again, that I know that while there are probably a lot of conservatives or normal or even lefties that work at Starbucks that would never, ever do that. We live in a society where some of these people on the left murder people with political disagreements. And I think it's clear Starbucks is filled with a lot of lefties. You see it quite consistently, particularly when it comes to uniform stuff. And I mean, just some of the videos that they post about being misgendered and these just things that are insufferable to observe. And the idea that it is beyond those individuals to spit in your drink or put something else in your drink is enough for me to be like, I don't think I would order that. I mean, I don't go to Starbucks anyhow, but if I did, I think I would not be ordering that particular drink. I also recall a few years ago, as may you, Some poor manager who is tasked in some Starbucks somewhere in this country with making sure that only customers use the restrooms. You remember this? And there was a guy in there, and he hadn't purchased anything, and he asked to use the restroom, and she, doing what she was hired and told to do, not allow non-customers to use the restroom, said, "I'm sorry, you have to be a customer." Now, he was black, and he claimed that he was going to order something, and so sued, and I think was paid off, and they closed all of the Starbucks across this country for, I think it was at least a day, maybe two, for sensitivity training. Sensitivity training because that manager was actually doing her job and told a non-paying customer he could not use the restroom, and he happened to be black. Now, I don't know about you, but to me it seems as if this is a much greater offense, because this is not an employee doing what the employee was supposed to do, writing racist favorite drink. Wasn't part of her job to do that. And clearly did it with ill intent, as opposed to the manager who was simply doing her job. Do we think Starbucks is going to close up for a day or two for sensitivity training? We all know the answer. All right. I want a great homeloan.com. You got those home loan needs. Here's what I recommend. If you are, you know it's going to be at some point, but maybe you want to wait until those interest rates hit a certain point. Don't wait. Anthony Carricker talked to us about this on Friday at Scramblers, where we do the Friday Road Show. Go ahead and get the process started, and then let them know, well, when interest rates hit this point, then I'm ready. Then it's already done, taken care of. The trigger can be pulled, and you're off to the races without having to wait the amount of time that otherwise you would have to in gathering everything together, and then it's on you, and then going through all the process. You have all of that work done ahead of time. Also, if you're just waiting for interest rates to hit a certain level, talk with them about that. You're thinking about it because they may have information that you had not considered that might change your mind. Maybe not, but maybe. More information's good. I want a great homeloan.com because you do. Now, here's a story from Twitchy, and apparently, I don't know, it's written in sort of a weird way that questions whether or not this passage is actually from Kamala Harris's book. But it seems as if there's, I don't know if it's an official release of an excerpt or somebody claiming that they've seen the advanced copy and this isn't an officially released portion of it. But Twitchy has what is supposedly in the book where she's talking about Trump when he made the comments that some people say she's not actually black. Remember that whole thing? And, of course, the media went nuts over it. You can't say that. You're racist. So apparently, if this is true in the book, she writes, "Are you kidding me? I was not about to take Trump's bait. He lies all the time," I told Brian. "He throws out outrageous statements to distract from the real issues. Today he wants me to prove my race. What's next? He'll say I'm not a woman and I'll need to show my vagina." Now, if that is an accurate quote from the passage in the book, it is going to be twice within a couple of weeks in which you have an admission from a high-profile female Democrat that women are women and men are men. If this really is in the book, I'm anxious to see if the transgender segment of the population is going to throw a fit, because this is defining a woman as having a female body part. That is what proves it. That Senator Haruno of Hawaii, I think it was last week or the week before, was complaining that women had to do pull-ups in order to, I don't know, advance into some service because pull-ups are more difficult for women than men. Yet again, demonstrating a difference between men and women. Farm Fest 2025 is just around the corner. October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The 3rd is a Friday. And we're going to be doing the show out there. Then we will be out there 10 a.m. on Saturday. We also are going to be visiting with a number of our partners, and Brad Pistole, host of Safe Money Radio, he's a big part of this, as is Sandcrest Trailer Sales, Flying Feathers, Honda the Ozarks, and a number of other partners you'll hear us talking about over the next couple of weeks as we get ready for that. We did it last year for the first time, and it was really awesome. So we are doing it once again. Indeed. Jimmy Kimmel back on ABC News, or I'm sorry, ABC tonight. The largest owner of local affiliates in the country, though, are not planning on airing his show, as he still refuses to apologize for, among other things, false claims he made about Charlie Kirk's alleged killer, which, of course, he's trying to convince people that it was some Trump supporter, which clearly not. And I happen to think that actually works against him. I think all he does is draw even more attention to it. And anyone who just does even the slightest amount of effort to learn the truth is going to find out that he was being dishonest. I don't think that helps him. And he'll probably have a little more viewership than normal tonight just to see what he says. But he's been losing viewers for some time now. And I don't think that's going to change. The 15 to, some say with bonuses and so forth, up to $20 million a year, ABC late night host negotiated his return to the airwaves directly with Walt Disney Company CEO and his number 2 Disney Entertainment co-chair, sources with knowledge of the situation told the New York Post. Kimmel will address the controversy during his monologue on Tuesday, though he will stop short of apologizing, the source said. Now, what does that mean? He's not going to apologize. Does that mean that he's going to acknowledge that what he said was, you know how sometimes they do the apology, but they don't say apologize? He won't necessarily say, I apologize for saying this, but instead recognize that at a time of heightened emotions, it probably wasn't the best time for him to, and he'll play it off as a joke, I suspect. If he acknowledges any wrongdoing, I think it will be a mistiming of a joke. He's certainly, I can't even begin to imagine that he would acknowledge being dishonest and lying about the shooter. I just can't imagine him doing that, but we'll see. Frankly, I don't care if he apologizes or not. I've never been one that was into the forced apology stuff. And maybe that's because growing up, and I think anyone who had siblings probably remembers at some point in which you were forced to apologize, and it meant nothing to you. And I'm self-aware enough to remember that when you're forced to do something, it's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. Now, if he or anyone, for that matter, really, truly, genuinely recognized that he was wrong and genuinely was sorry, then that's one thing. And I think that we should always be welcoming of people who do reflect on making judgments in error, being mean, doing nasty things. And then, after all, if we don't accept and welcome people's genuine apologies, then, then you can't ever hope to bring anybody around. But this, the idea that, well, he's not going to be forced to apologize. Who cares? What difference does that make? Everyone has the right, and all these affiliates have the right. I'm just saying, personally, forced apologies are absolutely meaningless to me, and calls for forced apologies. You hear it all the time. Oh, so-and-so, they should apologize for this, that. Well, maybe they should, but if they do it because you pushed them to or because they felt pressure to do it, it's irrelevant. In fact, to me, it's worse than not apologizing at all. But that's just me. Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across their ABC affiliate stations, replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. Sinclair had previously demanded Kimmel apologize to Kirk's family and pledge a donation to Turning Point USA, the activist group Kirk founded. Nexstar Media Group, the other largest ABC owner, has not yet said whether it'll air Kimmel on its stations Tuesday. The Post has sought comment from the company. Both media conglomerates had successfully pushed ABC to yank him from the airwaves for the September 15th comment about Kirk's assassination, which is really odd because we were told it was Donald Trump the fascist. How does that fit into all of this? So you have the two of the biggest affiliates that have said we're not, or at least one, and they were the ones pushing this. So that is not in line with these hysterical people on the left trying to blame Donald Trump for this. If Donald Trump were a dictator who wanted Jimmy Kimmel pulled off the air, then why are they putting him back on? Why? Well, because he really saw the backlash. Oh, that's how dictators work? They worry about public opinion? Nope. That's not how dictators work. Dictators don't do that. This is, again, why it is so many people on the left lose credibility when they scream, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, because normal people see, yeah, that's not really what's happening, is it? Now, the reason this is significant, as we noted earlier, Jimmy Kimmel gets paid between $15 to $20 million a year. Lord knows what it costs to put on this show. And when it comes to the demographic that makes money, that the advertisers care about, he's averaging $129,000. That already is a rat hole that money's being thrown down. You take away two of the largest affiliates that say, oh, we're not going to be running him in our markets, that number is going to be slashed significantly. When it certainly can't, how it is that he even still has a job is beyond me, at least in the capacity that he has it. Other than, I know it's hard to let go of legacy, and late-night talk shows have been around for a very long time, and even when you look on paper and you recognize that this is not working any longer, and that there's no way this is going to turn around, it's very difficult to change things when you've done them the same way over and over and over again, year after year, decade after decade. I get that. You got legacy, you got heritage, and that's a difficult thing to break from. But you slash the already anemic number of people that are watching his show by eliminating a number of these different marketplaces? How do you deal with that? And when it comes to some of these local marketplaces, and this is what a lot of people also fail to realize, and much of it's because of the disinformation out there that Trump's doing this because he's a dictator. Local affiliates, they run these shows in order to make money. They make money because they are given work similar to how we work. When we run shows, along with the shows come some advertising that's already there. Then we are given a window of time that we sell advertising, and that's how we make revenue to pay us and to keep the lights on and, to be a business. Given how you think about only 129,000 people in the demographic that matters to advertisers spread out across this entire country, you think how little some of the local affiliates are able to even charge for ads during his show. It's got to be so anemic. And while some people might look at these different Sinclair and Nexstar Media Group as, taking some sort of stand because they're MAGA people, it might just be because they are hurting financially. The show is hurting them as a local affiliate. And they see potentially the opportunity to have programming in there that they can actually make more money off of. When it comes to these decisions so often, there are a number of factors that are involved. The simplicity of simply wanting to say, once again, this is a dictator making these decisions when there's so many other reasons that Jimmy Kimmel should not be on the air for business reasons, abysmal viewership, local market affiliate struggles having with his show on. There is some nuance there, but the one contributing factor that is irrelevant here is whether or not Donald Trump likes Jimmy Kimmel. And I think it's fair to argue that when he weighs in and kind of, kicks him while he's down isn't really helpful, because that does help feed the narrative that the left uses, spreading this disinformation that Donald Trump is doing this. And so it arguably would be a little cleaner argument if he wasn't gloating about this sort of stuff, but it doesn't change the reality. Springfield's Talk 1041, latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today, showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 75. Tonight, showers will continue with a low around 64. For your Wednesday, we'll see a 60% chance of showers with a high near 74. And taking a look at Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 76.
Premier Landscaping Service and Hardscaping Service throughout the Ozarks. Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor. HunterHardscapes.com. You can see some of the before and after pics they have done, their work. Landscaping, outdoor living space design, paver patios, retaining wall, which is perfect for retaining or entertaining rather, or just even relaxing. The patios and walls are built to absolute last. And talk about adding value and beauty to your property. I know it has for ours. And again, I mean, there has not been, I know I say this, there's not been a day since the job was complete for us that we haven't spent some time out there. One of us, both of us, or sometimes even the girl child joins us out there. And, maybe she's doing some homework and we're reading, but we're all out there together in that living space that once did not exist, but it does now thanks to Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor. And they can do it for you too. Plan ahead. I would start planning for spring now. You're going to get those maybe tax refunds. You take a little extra just in case. You have a little extra taken out, and then you get this back. It would be a fantastic investment, not just in the equity of your home, but in your quality of life. Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor under Nick's endorsements, KSGF.com. I thought I'd play this Bill Maher audio he had on his Club Random podcast. Rob Reiner, lefty, played a lefty in All in the Family, Meathead. He's a director, good director. So he's on the podcast with Club Random, which I enjoy. I enjoy it because this is separate from the HBO weekly program he does. This is a sit-down one-on-one, and he has different walks of life, and he asks genuinely curious questions of people. Charlie Kirk was one of them, that he maybe doesn't understand. There's certain beliefs, and he's not mean about it. He's not nasty. He's not asking questions in order to prove someone wrong. It's a real normal conversation. We need more people on the left like that in this country. Increasingly, however, we have less and less of those because they refuse to sit down and have discussions, and that's part of what Bill Maher and Rob Reiner were talking about on the podcast Club Random.
This would make some sense for the Democrats if they had any power, but the idea of we don't talk to you when we don't even have the power, right. Of course you have to talk to people. I mean, there was an article somebody wrote, he was...
But here's the thing. You're right, but here's the thing. Let's say we're going to have that argument. You're going to try to talk to somebody, and you have a point of view. The other person has a point of view. Before you have the exchange, you have to agree on certain facts.
No, you don't. You can't. Once you start down that road...
Well, no.
But like these are... You just have to talk to people.
No, you talk to people. But if somebody says 2 + 2 is 4 and the other guy says, no, it's not, how do you begin the discussion?
Because Rob, that's a slippery slope. I agree. There are certain things that we all think, and then there are people. I'm sorry, everybody. I know this from doing this show. For so many people who've sat here and they're like, "Oh, this is a smart person. This is a rational person. And then there's like one thing they don't believe we landed on the moon, and you're just like, no. If you start down that road, if I can't talk to you. If you believe this crazy thing, because maybe
so
you
let's
just
say
can't.
No, essentially what Rob Reiner was describing was a debate about a debate. Before somebody on the left should sit down and have a debate with someone who doesn't believe the same things that they do, you have to debate what the parameters of the debate are. He's saying, well, I mean, you've got to make sure that they're going to speak. In other words, you have to agree with them. Because by definition, for people on the left, that is the truth. Ultimately, whatever they believe is the truth. This is why we see people on the left so disconnected, and why the Democrat Party is floundering in their efforts to try and reconnect with people and figure out what it is that average people think, what it is that average people have concerns about. We've seen the huge focus with guys, and we're going to hire these influencers to try to reach them. But it's because they refuse to talk with people that do not agree with them 100%. I have audio at some left-wing podcast, or relatively, I'm not even sure who the guy is, but and I don't have it at my fingertips, but I saved it at one point because he was talking about how people on the left will claim, make these claims about people on the right when, that they're closed-minded and so forth. And he said that he has, as somebody who's not a conservative, no trouble whatsoever getting conservatives to come on his show and have discussions. No trouble whatsoever having Trump supporters. But getting people on the left, people that share his own ideology, it's virtually impossible to get them to come on and have actual meaningful discussions and actual meaningful debates about certain things, because they just will not do it. This is why Charlie Kirk was enemy number one to them, because he did that and results came from it. And this nutty position that you should only sit down. He asked the question, well, I mean, if you're going to debate someone and they say 1 + 1 = 2, what do you say to that? You ask them to explain how they came to that conclusion. That's what you say. Charlie Kirk dealt with this all the time. People would make statements that made no sense whatsoever, that were in total defiance of reality, and he would ask them to explain how they came to that conclusion. That's how you do it. But people that are one-dimensional, who are authoritarian in their approach, they do not believe in the free exchange of ideas. They do not believe that there should be diversity in thought. They believe that there should be their thought, and everyone can agree, or, if they're generous like Rob Reiner, they'll set up parameters and let you know, okay, well, I'll debate you and you're allowed to have a diverse perspective, but you have to believe these certain pillars here in order for me to even have a discussion with you. Oh, and coincidentally, these pillars are things that I believe. This is such a massive problem in this country. People like Bill Maher see it. People like Charlie Kirk definitely saw it. And for people on the left who want to paint Trump supporters as being cult members, what do you call people who won't even have discussions with outsiders, who won't even associate with people who have different beliefs in life? That is what you call a cult. And increasingly, people on the left are making that a requirement in order to even associate with them. That's the cult. And Rob Reiner is spelling it out there, and Bill Maher is saying we cannot do that. Unfortunately, for our country, the Democrat Party's wing that is against diversity and ideas and open discussion and dialogue that's the wing of the party that is winning at this point within the Democrat Party.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today, showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 75. Tonight, showers will continue with a low around 64. For your Wednesday, a 60% chance of showers with a high near 74. And taking a look at Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 76.
Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who's a loser, was one of the folks out there that tried to run defense for rich white guy Jimmy Kimmel. And she took to X to voice her opinion, claiming that she would never attempt to silence a comedian who said something she didn't like or found to be offensive. And that prompted what's the guy's name? Mackey is his last name. I forget his first name. Douglas Mackey. To respond to Douglas Mackey, he went to prison because of a meme he made about Hillary Clinton in which she called the FBI. Went to prison. Now, Clinton said, Jimmy Kimmel and other late-night comedians have certainly said things about me that I found offensive, even outrageous. It never crossed my mind to call up the networks and say, hey, get rid of this guy, because that's not how America works. Which, of course, is not what Trump did either. But Mackey, who ultimately served time in prison for a 2016 meme, joking that people could avoid the line by voting for Hillary Clinton by texting Hillary to a certain number. You know, and you see these every so often. Be sure to tell your friends at the left will do it. Be sure to tell Trump supporters to vote on Monday or to vote Wednesday on special Trump Day. And in fact, there were versions of that, variations of that. There was a left-wing comedian, some gal who did it. But she wasn't prosecuted, and it was regarding Trump. She wasn't prosecuted because we were all told, well, people know she's a comedian, so it's okay for her to say it. Well, she's also left-wing. Mackey, a conservative, does the exact same joke, but with Hillary Clinton as the target, he went to prison. He posted in response to Hillary Clinton claiming she would never do anything like that. Quote, Madam Secretary, it crossed your mind to call up Senator Klobuchar, the FBI, and the Department of Justice and have me arrested for a humorous meme about your campaign. You then celebrated my unlawful and wrongful conviction, which was later overturned by a federal appeals court. Sit down. This is for thinking people. One of the aggravating aspects of this is these people on the left who have not only celebrated but been behind, sometimes in this case, somebody going to prison because of a joke. Yet then they falsely accuse Trump of having Jimmy Kimmel pulled while running around virtue signaling, well, we would never do such a thing. You do it all the time. You do it all the time. Jimmy Kimmel himself, when Tucker Carlson was booted from Fox, as did a number of Democrat lawmakers, celebrated it. Jimmy Kimmel said you can't, when you go on air and spread disinformation, this is the sort of thing that happens. Well, unless you're Jimmy Kimmel, then it can't happen, see? One of my favorite bits of hypocrisy in this is the left had celebrated when Megyn Kelly got fired from NBC. I remember Megyn Kelly was on Fox News forever. She left, she went to NBC. And she got fired because during a segment where they were talking about Halloween costumes and racism and blackface and so forth, she mentioned that when she was a kid, that wasn't an issue. That if, a white girl really loved Diana Ross, as long as it was part of a costume, like of a famous person, it was not uncommon for kids to wear makeup of a different race in order to look like the celebrity or the character that they were dressed up for, which is an absolute true statement. She got fired for it. She got fired because she talked about blackface. Jimmy Kimmel has done blackface twice that I know of. Once to make fun of Oprah Winfrey. So this is the incredible world that we live in, where the left celebrated Megyn Kelly getting fired from NBC because she talked about blackface, but they rally around the rich white guy who actually did blackface himself on television more than once. Well, that's different, see. Oh, okay. No, we know it's different. We know. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. I keep seeing the headline, and maybe I get too hung up on semantics, but, Trump administration links Tylenol to autism. This is not something that the Trump administration just came up with. This is something that has been claimed in numerous studies from the past. And listen, I understand. You're going to find some stuff. Clearly, the people who own Tylenol, they're going to be like, no, this isn't true. Okay. For virtually every study out there one finds, you could probably find a study that says something else. But this isn't, as some of the headlines suggesting, it's like Trump just up and decided, you know what, I'm going to declare that there is a link between Tylenol and autism because, like Fauci says, well, I'm just science, and so you have to believe me, otherwise you don't believe science. Trump is just say, well, just because I'm in charge, and so that's not what this is. Whether one agrees with it or not. The Daily Caller notes that Emily Kopp wrote an investigative report on this, that President Donald Trump announced the result of his top health advisor's search for the cause of autism Monday, Tylenol, or acetaminophen, in pregnancy. Toxicology studies, epidemiology studies, and laboratory animal studies have accumulated since at least 2016, showing a plausible link between prenatal and early infancy exposure to Tylenol and neurodevelopmental disorders. So there have been numerous studies that have been done across a number of fields that all conclude that there is a plausible link. Now, that leaves room for people to argue that it's not definitive. But what it certainly isn't is, well, that kooky Donald Trump and RFK Jr. coming up with their crazy theories again. Trump was flanked by his Health and Human Service Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Service Administrator Mehmet Oz, and National Institute of Health Director Jay Bhattacharya. Trump said, quote, taking Tylenol is not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending women limit Tylenol use when pregnant unless medically necessary. Trump said he wants to see urgent work from his cabinet to address the steep rise in autism, noting, quote, it used to be 1 out of 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. I would say that it's probably 18 years ago. Now it's 1 in 31. For boys, it's 1 in 12. Trump recommended only taking Tylenol if you can't tough it out with a high fever. FDA will issue a physician's notice about the risk of acetaminophen and initiate a change to the drug label. HHS will launch a public service campaign to inform families. FDA will conduct more studies. NIH will launch 13 new projects totaling $50 million into both environmental and genetic causes. Now, this is important to note. This isn't the Trump administration saying, which we've oftentimes heard from others, well, study's been done, and so the consensus is this, which means we don't need to study it anymore. Don't question anything else. No more questions. We figured it out. We solved it. That, by the way, is the Fauci approach. This is what I've concluded. If you question me, you're questioning science. With the Trump administration, because there are a lot of people who say, and a lot of different studies and just thinking people that note that, they believe perhaps environmental issues are at play and genetic causes are as well. So the Trump administration is going to continue funding research into those areas also. Now, I know a lot of people really don't like Trump, but to me, this seems like the reasonable approach to this sort of stuff. Kennedy also said that folate deficiencies can drive autism. FDA will initiate a label change to enable the use of a drug called leucovorin to treat this deficiency. Drug maker Kenvue did not respond to the request for comment. I believe that is the company that owns Tylenol at this point. Trump also recommended some changes to vaccines, such as removing additives like mercury and aluminum, and recommending children take the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccines separately, and varicella. Take them separately. That follows a recommendation by a Centers for Disease Control and Prevention vaccine panel to change the vaccine schedule to recommend 2 separate shots for children under 4. Trump also recommended delaying vaccination against hepatitis B from the day of birth to 12 years of age. And this is specifically, it's different if a mother has hepatitis B. But currently, even if the mother does not have hepatitis B, it has been recommended that you go ahead from birth and give your child this vaccine anyhow, which many people note really doesn't make much sense unless you have a 6-month-old that is sexually promiscuous and using, drugs that could be responsible for transmitting hepatitis B. Probably don't need to worry about the vaccine for a while. I think to a lot of people that just makes sense. Kennedy and Bhattacharya said that no potential driver of autism would be too taboo, including vaccines, which is the way it should be. While some scientists express confidence in their conclusion that an association exists, other studies have resulted in more ambiguous results or have pointed away from an environmental cause and instead towards a genetic one, which again, the Trump administration is, to the tune of $50 million, going to make sure there are continued studies to learn more about that aspect of it. The announcement bucks conventional thinking on autism, that its root cause lies in unchangeable genetics. The link may have gone undetected because acetaminophen, first synthesized in the 1890s and grandfathered in by the Food and Drug Administration without any clinical trials before modern drug regulation laws, is so widely used and viewed as safe, one expert advising the administration told the Daily Caller News Foundation, quote, "We know that smoking causes lung cancer. Imagine if everyone in the United States, even babies, smoked cigarettes, lung cancer would look genetic." While some scientists express confidence in their conclusion that an association exists, other studies have resulted in more ambiguous. Okay, I already read that part. About 50% of pregnant women take acetaminophen, according to a 2025 study, as early as 2016. A Danish national birth cohort study found that acetaminophen was associated with autism spectrum disorder with hyperactive symptoms. More recently, an August 2025 study found that a literature review supported an association between acetaminophen exposure during pregnancy and increased incidence of neurodevelopmental disorders like autism. They note there was a 2024 study in the premier journal, JAMA, compared children exposed to acetaminophen during pregnancy with siblings who weren't, and they found no association pointing towards genetic drivers. Now, this to me just seems, on the surface, like a logical approach to this stuff. There have been numerous studies done over numerous years, including some with our brilliant European allies, that have noted that their conclusions that there is some sort of connection there. Now, this isn't banning Tylenol. This isn't telling parents or mothers that they can't take Tylenol. This is simply adding to the whole litany of warnings that are already on Tylenol, like everything else under the sun. It is going to be, I think, a little interesting to see the reaction to this, because this is another issue in which the Trump administration wins non-political people, because increasingly people don't simply trust companies that provide some sort of product because they said, oh, this is wonderful and this works. People tend to be skeptical. And a lot of normal people, and I say normal people, that's people, a lot of people on the left as well, observed the way that our government treated us when it came to COVID and the deliberate dishonesty and misinformation campaigns that the government would put upon us in order to get us to behave a certain way, and understandably so. Because of that, many Americans are like, maybe I shouldn't just take them at their word. And the Trump administration's approach here when it comes to this stuff and saying, here's what we found so far. Actually, this isn't what we found, but these are what the studies, numerous studies have found. So this is going to be our recommendation. We are going to continue to fund research into other potential causes, environmental and so for genetic, of autism. And when it comes to vaccines, some of these heavy metals we want to take out. We're making a few recommendations when it comes to that. But this is a far different display from the administration than what we have all been told, that RFK Jr. is going to ban vaccines and kids are going to be dying everywhere and they're all crazy. This seems to be a real reasoned approach to this. Let's get a traffic update. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. The Pyramid Roofing Company, lots of rain in the forecast, which means lots of opportunities for roof failure. Now, if you've noticed yellowing on your ceiling, drips, leaks, or maybe your gutters are just not keeping up with the rain, the Pyramid Roofing Company team, they can help you out. Now, the Pyramid team, they offer free roof inspections, they use high-quality materials, and they work with you through that insurance process to make sure that everything gets covered. They're awesome to work with. I had them install my roof several years ago now, and I've had them out for annual roof inspections, and they make the process super easy. So whether you need a whole new roof, a simple roof repair, metal roofing services, or maybe you just want to get a free checkup on your roof before we move into fall, make sure to reach out to Josh and his team today. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Farm Fest 2025 is coming up, and it's just a couple weeks away, and we're going to be there once again. We were there, yeah, whoop, 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 whoop. We were there in Farm Fest 2024, the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds, and we're repeating. We are repeating that awesome event. 3rd through the 5th, we'll be kicking it off, broadcasting live from the fairgrounds on Friday. On Saturday, will be doing Sarah's show out there, along with Brad Pistol, host of Safe Money Radio.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, they are big shoes to fill. They are. I hope I don't screw it up. I'll be
Better
quite
not.
embarrassed.
Better not.
Sandcrest Trailer Sales, throughout the weekend, we're going to check in with them a number of times. They're massive partners in this thing. Also, we'll be checking in with Wheeler Metals and Springfield Livestock and a number of other partners, some of which we spent some time with last time around. It's just we're going to, throughout the day, as you listen to shows, I'll be checking in and let you know what's going on at the different locations. If you've never been to Farm Fest, for me, I mean, I'm not a farmer, but I still like that sort of stuff. I think it's fun to go around, see the livestock, and frankly, there are some booths there that aren't geared towards even farming, so there's something for everyone. I remember last time there was a booth, and it was just these two young people from Texas Roadhouse just handing out free appetizer coupons. Now, that doesn't draw you in. You don't have to be a farmer to enjoy that, right? So look forward to seeing you out there. You may recall one of the individuals that lost his job fairly quickly. In fact, I believe the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination was Matthew Dowd of MSNBC, because his take on it was pretty much Charlie Kirk deserved it. Like, well, this is what happens. This is what happens in America 2025. If you're a Trump supporter, you just got to expect some of our supporters might kill you. And that apparently was too much for even MSNBC. Well, he has taken to social media whining about the fact that so many people defended Jimmy Kimmel, but not him. He said for the last 24 hours, all the shows are talking about how this is awful for America, that Jimmy Kimmel is indefinitely suspended. Not one person has said anything about me. Not one person on that network. Oh, poor little guy. Well, you don't have the celebrity behind you. He is a rich celebrity, and so other rich celebrities are going to come to his defense. And you just don't have that. You're not that cool. And so I guess just keep whining. But I can't imagine. I cannot imagine going on social media, especially if you are of a stature that you are going to get news coverage for it, and just whining about some of this stuff. It's just, I don't know. We got news coming up in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Well, the freak out is underway. Fallout over White House autism announcement. Everyone go absolutely crazy. Everyone defend massive pharmaceutical companies and big corporations for Tylenol. I saw one person say, well, this just clearly doesn't make sense because autism was around before Tylenol. Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm sure diabetes was around before Snickers bars. That doesn't mean that, you can eat all the Snickers bars you want and not have some sort of diabetic reaction to it. It's not like every disease or disorder has only one cause and that's it. And that one thing, once you find it, stop looking for any other, whether it's environmental or genetic. I mean, so far the response to this is the anti-scientific approach. Part of what is just so dumb, excuse me, about the reaction to numerous studies that have been done. Oh, and the media, they're running around. They're like, well, none of the medical associations in America support this. They're lobbyist these are left-wing organizations that take dues from their members in order to try to get left-wing politicians elected. They're not about medicine. Dr. John Lilly has talked about this at length. We have this mistaken belief that, the AMA and all these different organizations, that their number one priority is absolutely nothing to do with politics and it's all medicine and science. No, that is not true. Not true at all. You look at, so this is part of what is just so dumb about this reaction. You look at the back of any over-the-counter drug. Tylenol, for example. Have you ever done this before? You're gonna take something new, and you're looking to see like how many to take. If there's any sort of or how, you can take them, but only take them 4 hours apart or something. But you can't find it because everything that's printed on the bottle are warnings about this could happen, that could happen. Don't take if you're doing this, if you have more than 2 drinks a day on average, because it could cause this damage. And some people who happen to have this, it could have this reaction. I mean, and the print's so small, you can't hardly see it anyway. So you have all of this information absolutely jam-packed, filled with potential side effects. Yet you have these people on the left, and let's be honest, it's because it's coming from the Trump administration, acting like it's absurd to declare after numerous studies that there might be some unintended consequences from taking Tylenol as a pregnant woman. Now, the studies that have been done over the years that show a plausible link between pregnant mothers taking certain amounts of Tylenol and neurological issues like that are connected to autism. That doesn't mean we know absolutely everything and, if you take this many doses, that means for sure you're going to have an autistic child. And nobody's declaring that. This is just a warning. This derangement, this broken brain syndrome that people have on the left. Do you know how many warnings get issued by the FDA? I mean, constantly. And nobody thinks a thing of it. And maybe they should. But we become so accustomed to having, there's a new warning here and a new one. And out in California, they have all sorts of warnings no one else has. And no one says a peep about it. But the minute that Donald Trump's administration, based off of past studies, says, hey, it looks like there's a plausible link here, we're just going to recommend you be aware of this, they all start to flip out. Fallout. Get a grip, you insane lunatics. You're insane. You have allowed your hysterical hatred for Donald Trump to break you. Your mind is broken. And this idea, and this is what I know many of us found to be ludicrous when they would run around claiming that it was crazy to think that there'd be any sort of side effects from vaccines. There's side effects for everything. Everything. I mean, you're putting something in your body in order to alter the way that your body is behaving. Every sort of medicine does that. That's the whole point. It's to make it do something different than it's already, doing on its own naturally, so that you feel better or get better. Usually feel better. Clearly, I just keep thinking that these are the same people that demand you keep, peanuts 8 miles away from their children who have peanut allergies. And I'm not saying that's not a real thing. It has become a real thing. But it's like they are so hyper vigilant when it comes to these certain things like the recognition of peanuts and peanut allergies. But then if Donald Trump comes out and says, hey, we've looked through these studies and we see that Tylenol has a plausible link to these other things, and they act like that's the most insane thing ever, and oh my gosh, we can't, I'm just so mad right now, I can't even listen to this. What does he know? He's an idiot. He's a dictator. Get a grip. You have lost it. You have full-blown lost your marbles. This isn't a declaration that says you have to listen to the guy, but just try this as an exercise. Pretend as if it's somebody you like in there. Pretend it's Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Kamala Harris or Satan, whomever it is that you choose, that you really like to follow. Would you react the same way? If not, then your reaction is not appropriate. It's not logical. It's not doing anyone any good. Let's get the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today, showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 75. Tonight, showers will continue with a low around 64. For your Wednesday, a 60% chance of showers with a high near 74. And taking a look at Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 76.
That rain coming down, we're going to get a traffic update, but someone texted on the Pyramid Roofing Company text line. I'm driving towards Joplin, and I've seen 2 cars lose control from all the rain.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, you get the hydroplaning, and it can be definitely dangerous. Another of you say, Nick sounds contagious enough to spread through the radio. Yeah, I apologize. I don't know if I'm contagious or not. I have no idea. I'm careless. I'm reckless. I'm a rebel.
You don't care about my health.
Well, you've been on vacation.
That is true.
It started yesterday. Well, actually, Sunday night it started. And, some of the things, don't they say, like, oh, well, once you show symptoms, it's no longer contagious? Isn't that a thing sometimes?
I think so.
Yeah, so that's just what I assume is going on here.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, this is the safe assumption I'm making. It's not going to make me any worse. You know, a number of these people. Well, here first, I want to mention some of the really great news from Pinnaker Honda, the Pinnaker family, and some of what they do have going on with rates as low as 2.99%, the 2025 gas Accord. Now, they do have the hybrid as well, which gets 51 miles per gallon. The 2026 HRV as low as $299 a month. The 25 Pilot with rates as low as 3.49%. And some of the rates for pre-owned vehicles are oftentimes as low as 0.99%. So those are amazingly low interest rates, particularly, again, for pre-owned vehicles. And the Pinnaker Advantage. Were you here when Barry talked about the $1,000 if you own a Honda?
Oh, yes.
Were you with us? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go in and you're going to purchase a Honda from Pinnaker Honda and you already own one, you get $1,000. Now that is not $1,000 for a trade-in. That's just a thank you because you're a current. You don't have to sell or get rid of your current Honda. It is, to me, the flip side of what so oftentimes happens, where the incentives are to try to get new customers in. You know, oh, add a line in this, and you get this great deal, but only for new customers. Turning that on its head, the Pinnaker family there, where owning a Honda currently will get you $1,000 just for having one when you purchase a new Honda there. Pinnaker Honda, south of Walnut Lawn, I should say, on South Campbell. You know, for these people out there that are anti-Trump, and so they have decided whatever it is that his administration declares. The latest is this plausible link. Numerous studies have shown mothers taking aspirin and potential autism. Now, if you want to take that chance, knock yourself out. What if the studies are right? It's not even about whether Trump's right. Trump didn't come up with these studies. Studies go back a decade. What if all those studies are right? You know, and Mike Landis noted, and I mentioned it earlier, that these different associations, these official medical associations of government, well, they say, go ahead, keep taking it, it's fine. A few weeks ago when Dr. Lilly was on, we talked about hemophiliacs and how you don't hear so much about them, particularly as kids, as you did once upon a time. And I was like, that's true. I remember it seemed like there was always at least one kid in your class or in your grade that was a hemophiliac, usually couldn't play at recess, or if he or she did, had to. I wonder if there's a gender. It always seemed like it was a boy in my class that was the hemophiliac. But because if they got cut, they would, they couldn't clot. And so they could bleed out, or the bruising could be real damaging. And the reason that we essentially wiped out at one point those with hemophilia in this country was because of AIDS and blood transfusions. And they require blood transfusions all the time. And there were some crazy people out there that said, hey, you know what? We think maybe this AIDS thing is transmitted by fluids that include blood. And so maybe we should stop taking blood, or at least test blood to make sure, we should stop taking blood donations from people with HIV and AIDS because this is what we believe. But the experts said that's not true and told. The American people, you can't get it through blood transfusions. That's ridiculous. You know who led that study? Do you know who authored and promoted the study that told Americans, including hemophiliacs, to continue to take blood that was donated by people with HIV/AIDS? Anthony Fauci. Countless people lost their lives because his refusal, because of his arrogance, his refusal to listen to anyone other than him because, quote, he is science. Whether it's arrogance or just simple mistakes, anytime you hear any report that notes studies and then, this medical association, they say, don't worry, keep doing it. Just remember Fauci said the same thing to people when it came to blood transfusions and AIDS in this country, telling him it was perfectly okay. I mean, many of us remember the story of Ryan White, the little boy that had a blood transfusion and got AIDS because of it. Because he and everyone else was told by Fauci and crew, it's fine. Now, I'm not saying that it is a, direct carbon copy of what's occurring today with the organizations out there saying, oh, go ahead, despite these different studies on Tylenol and the potential leak to autism, that is the exact same thing. But can we please stop acting as if these different organizations that have demonstrated in the past that they're wrong, they have demonstrated in the past that they will double down even as people die, that have demonstrated in the past that oftentimes they're more interested in politics than actual science. Can we stop just throwing those, different organizations around as in, oh, this is the end all be all. Well, Trump says this, but here's what the people you should trust say. Really? I don't think so. They have proven that their title of expert does not mean that they have some sort of upper hand when it comes to being correct over others, whether it's in the United States or, studies done outside the United States, like the Dutch study from 2015-16 regarding autism and Tylenol. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Streaming live, KSGF.com. Oh, the WHO has dismissed the studies cited by the Trump administration regarding the plausible link between autism and the use of Tylenol. Well, I mean, if there was any organization that proved during COVID they could be trusted, it was the World Health Organization, wasn't it? It's just crazy to me what people will the people they'll choose to believe. Well, how do you know you can believe all these studies that have been done with the links to... I'm not saying that I do, but I'm not foolish enough to go, by default, I'm going to believe all these people that have already proven you can't trust them. Like, is that really worth it? I mean, is it really worth it? Do you need to take Tylenol that bad? I mean, maybe some people do. And Trump even said, listen, if you got a headache or something, and you can kind of muster through it, our recommendation is that you don't take the chance. But for Pete's sakes, what if the studies are right? Well, but good for you. Really show Donald Trump. I just double down on that Tylenol. I'll take fistfuls of it. Really show him. You ought to have protests out there in front of the White House, or you're just downing bottles and bottles of Tylenol. Show that dictator he won't convince you not to be taking it. People are nuts, insane. Pyramid Roofing Company text line, what about class action lawsuits against products with plausible links to cancer? Oh, well, sure, the left loves that. This is all just about Trump. I mean, you'll have these class action lawsuits in which it doesn't even, because they're civil suits, or you don't even have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that there's any link. Yeah, that's the way our system works when you're talking about civil suits. And so you'll get some case where a jury awards, $200 trillion because they think maybe kind of, sort of, there's a link. And then the left always, they applaud that. So I want to really show those evil people, those evil pesticide companies, those evil pharmaceutical companies just killing people for profit. Yeah, really stick it to them. Until you tell them, well, actually, Donald Trump is involved. Oh, no. See, he's worse. So we're going to be back on the side of the big corporate medicine guys. That's what we're going to do. It has nothing to do with the interest in truth, nothing for these people to do with medicine. It's just they are so completely deranged. Just like everything. They take the opposite position of Donald Trump. The latest, we'll talk about this coming up. If ever domestically there were people or a group that behaved like terrorists, tried to kill people, fire bombs, lock law enforcement into a law enforcement building, try to light it on fire, it's Antifa. Well, Trump has declared them a terrorist organization. Well, guess, this is a very difficult riddle to figure out. Guess the latest organization that the left is finding themselves defending and in love with. Of course, it's Antifa. Chuck Todd on his podcast, just beside himself. All of a sudden, Antifa is just the best organization ever. Even when it comes to domestic terrorism, if Trump's against them, by gosh, we're with them. We're going to saddle right up there with them. They have freedom of speech, murdering police officers, trying to burn people alive. That's just free speech. Trump's going to have a chilling effect on people's ability to murder law enforcement.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by JNS Automotive. Today, showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 75. Tonight, showers will continue with a low around 64. For your Wednesday, a 60% chance of showers with a high near 74. And taking a look at Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 76.
It's dark outside.
I know, it's a little spooky.
It's a little spooky.
Feels like fall almost.
Well, wasn't yesterday the first day?
I believe so.
And there you go. President Trump making it official Antifa domestic terrorist. Red State noting Antifa, be more accurate to call them pro-Tifa, which of course they are. This is the redefining of terminology. They are anything but anti-fascist. This was an organization that, I think it was in New York, when some department, may have been a fire department, or there was a push to have a meeting about lifting the mask mandate or the vaccine mandate for employees. And Antifa was there protesting against stopping the force of people taking it. So like they were protesting for fascism. Because their behavior is the behavior of fascists. Forced compliance. Do what we say, or we will make life such a living hell for you. We will terrorize you until you comply. And then listen, I understand people pausing when you hear about an organization here in the United States being declared a terrorist organization, because we are accustomed to terrorist organizations being outside the United States. It's just what we're accustomed to. And when you get into new territory, it feels different. And it can give you pause. And that can be a good thing as long as you logically think through it. So I think, just out of the gate, a reasonable question is, should any organization in the United States ever be declared a terrorist organization? And I think most people would recognize that, well, if they're acting as a terrorist organization, yeah. I mean, once they get inside, whether they're homegrown or have immigrated here, we can't just throw down our defenses and say, well, we're going to pretend that they're not terrorists. Here's something that I want you to think about. The left is going to pitch a fit over this because it's something that Trump has done. And how dangerous it is. Declaring an American organization to be a terrorist organization, and how you could be, who's next? Who's next? How many years have we heard the left talk about homegrown terrorism? How many years? They've been doing it since September 11th. In many instances, telling us that's where the real concern actually is. Now, they have said that they've tried to mislead people by claiming that they're Trump supporters, Christian nationalists, white supremacists, people on the right. And in fact, the previous administration claimed that the biggest threat to our national security were those people, domestic terrorists. That's what Democrats have been saying. And by the way, Antifa, I don't know if you've ever seen any of their mugshots when they get arrested for carrying out a terrorist attack, usually white. So they're pretty much, other than their ideological beliefs, because they're on the left, they're what the Democrats have been telling us is the real threat in this country: domestic, homegrown terrorists. Now, those exact same people who have been beating us over the head with this notion that that is the real terror in this country are going to start telling us how horrifying and dangerous it is to claim that people in this country are terrorists. It's going to be a 100-degree about face. And in fact, it's already happening. Chuck Todd in a meltdown over this. Former NBC News employee Chuck Todd freaking out about Trump deciding to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization. Speaking of former CNN employee Chris Kaliza, on his podcast, Todd suggested this move is dangerous, and Kaliza agreed, of course. Now, they didn't have a problem when the previous administration declared parents who showed up at school board meetings as potential terrorists, instructing the FBI to use the Patriot Act against them. There's not some theoretical threat or what. That happened. Told them to use the Patriot Act. What is the Patriot Act for? Terrorist. To prevent terrorism. Memos were sent out to FBI field offices all over this country instructing them to begin to treat parents who showed up at school board meetings as if they were potential terrorists in which they could use the Patriot Act. So in the mind, and you're going to watch it play out fully here, the minds of people like Chuck Todd, you know, a mom who wants to make sure that her child gets an education, it's perfectly fine looking at them, viewing them, and describing them as a terrorist, but some worthless piece of crap 23-year-old that has a goal of killing as many police officers and Trump supporters as possible, now hands off them. Let's not be unreasonable here. That's how their minds work. The Gateway pundit noting the best part is that Chuck Todd claims he doesn't even know what Antifa is and that there's no group. That is, you may recall, a BS line that Joe Biden used to try to push, that Antifa was an idea. There weren't even actual Antifa people out there. It's just your imagination. You're just seeing things, you're imagining things. Antifa's just an idea. Chuck Todd saying, quote, I don't even know what Antifa is. I know what the definition of Antifa is, and there is no group. But what's dangerous is that by designating it, who's going to define who the group is? And if the Trump administration decides to say George Soros is a part of that group, and I designated that, then you're like, no, I'm not, but it doesn't matter. Sort of like, again, when the Trump administration designated parents as potential terrorists. This is what we have to deal with in this country. These people with twisted, warped views of reality, twisted, warped views about whom it is in our country we should defend. Catholics were also viewed as potential terrorists. Veterans by the previous administration were viewed as potential terrorists. Like all of the people that are the true, genuine backbone of a good, healthy culture in this society, the left targeted as potential terrorists. Don't you dare touch Antifa. Oh, no. Why? Well, because, see, they're anti-Trump. So that means, by default, they are the good guys. Rachel Maddow pressing Kamala Harris on her passing on Pete Buttigieg for BP over concerns about his sexuality. Now, Kamala Harris has written in her book that this is a woman. This is the Democrat Party. She skipped over Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania because he's a Jew, and now she's admitting she skipped over Pete Buttigieg because he's gay. The party of diversity and inclusivity is just it's just brilliant at demonstrating this. This world that has been crafted by the left to have an open acknowledgement that Shapiro would have been the most intelligent pick for her. But, everybody knows it was openly discussed by Democrats. Can't have a Jew on the ticket. Kamala Harris is out there, well, and there's that Buttigieg guy, he's gay, couldn't do that. What bold warriors they are, right? Really, really trailblazing out there. MSNBC host Rachel Maddow, who herself is gay, she didn't pick up on any of the hints, pressed former Vice President Kamala Harris yesterday about Pete Buttigieg, who she saw as too big of a risk to choose as her running mate because he's gay. Quote, this is Rachel. I guess I'd ask you just to elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear with you running as you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear. Kamala Harris responded, quote, that's not what I said, that he couldn't be on the ticket because he's gay. My point is, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States against someone like Donald Trump, who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for president of the United States, and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. She said that she's an ally of the LGBT community her whole life and said it was not due to any prejudice on her part. So, of course, it's Trump's fault. Because is that what an ally is? Maybe I've misunderstood when I've heard people talk about being an ally of the LGBT community. That means just kicking you to the curb if it's going to cost something. I don't know. It's not really what I would consider to be an ally. Now, in the Democrat Party, perhaps. But I love this admission coming from the last Democrat presidential candidate that she considers herself an ally to the LGBT community. But, when it really came down to it, he might cost her the election. And so the allyship really doesn't extend that far. What's the point in being an ally if the moment you appear to potentially be a liability, you get kicked to the curb? That's not an ally. That's a fair weather fan. That's somebody that is only there for you when it benefits her. And that's what she's acknowledging. Well, he wasn't going to benefit her, and so, sorry, too bad. How do you folks that are activists when it comes to these different organizations not find yourself appalled by these acknowledgments? Kamala Harris is fully acknowledging that the reason that, as an ally, she passed over Buttigieg is because she wasn't going to help him. Is that an ally? If that's what you consider an ally, I hope you never get in any real trouble, because you're going to look around and you're not going to have anybody there. But I also love how the Democrats are able to kick to the curb these different categories of people they claim to lift up and be champions of, and then blame it on everyone else. Well, see, it's not my fault. It's just because, well, Donald Trump was running against me, and so people would have voted against me because I had a gay guy on the ticket or a Jew on the ticket, so I couldn't do that. So I had to play it safe. Is that leadership? Is that LGBT community the sort of leadership you're looking for? Is that how you define someone who's an ally? That they're there for you unless you don't benefit them, or unless someone who's not an ally is up against you, and then they're going to abandon you? Yesterday, while talking about part of some of the excerpts out of her book, and the real true lack of self-awareness, how it seems like so much of her book is just complaining about how she wasn't helped. She didn't get enough support. She didn't get enough direction. When she is applying for leadership positions, if you were trying to be an intern or lower level, looking to move up to middle management, and it is, the job, it's recognized that, oh, you're early in training, so you need support and you don't get it, that would be one thing. But you're applying for leadership positions, executive positions. And so she runs around in this sort of, post-presidential election in which she believes in her mind she should have won. She believes that she exudes leadership, yet virtually everything that she says is the absence, it's the antithesis of leadership. Blaming other people, kicking people to the curb, cutting out dead weight for political reasons that are supposedly categories of people that she is, shares a great allyship. There was one of my favorite moments that somewhat in the same context was when Bill Richardson was running. It was in the Democrat primary. I don't remember what year this was. And he was the Democrat governor of New Mexico, and he was also part of the Clinton administration. I forget what his position was. But he's running, and there was a town hall forum style discussion. And he was part of it, and I guess there were some other Democrats that were part of it, but it was hosted by some LGBT group. Or it's probably just BG group. The T wasn't the hijacking the organization at that point. And Melissa Etheridge was one of the moderators. And the question that was asked, I have to try to find this audio sometime, it's just so funny. The question that was asked of him was a softball question. And that is, do you think that people who are homosexual choose to be that way, or are they born that way? Well, the correct answer politically is they're born that way. It's such a politically correct answer. Lady Gaga wrote a song titled Born That Way. Well, Bill Richardson did not know that. And so he answered, well, it's a choice. And the uncomfortable. I can't do it's been so long since I just remember when it happened, and I thought this is just so hilarious. And so she's trying to help him save himself. And if I recall, he put a period on the conversation by noting that he wasn't a scientist, and so he couldn't really answer that question. Some of you folks that put yourself in these silos, that are given these labels that identify you, and the way that it is so transparent that you are just used. It is so transparent. You're like the flare that Jennifer Aniston had to wear in Office Space. Or you're just used. Your labels, your flashiness, but when it really comes down to it, they are so indifferent to you. Other than get out the vote to keep them in power. Your flair. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers.
Thank you. Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. Fall is right around the corner, so now is the time to get your home prepared for that cooler weather. And top of the list should probably be your furnace. One of the best ways to keep your system running for years is to make sure you get regular professional maintenance on your unit, and the Foreman Mechanical team, they can help you out on that front. They can also help you if it's time for an indoor air quality test, or maybe this is the year that you upgrade your unit. Whatever your HVAC needs, Russell and his crew, they have got you covered. Now you can reach out, schedule your appointment today, and you can find all of the contact information for Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
I found an article. So it was going into the 2008 presidential election, and I found this one article. I was referencing it was some LGBT or LGB town hall forum, and Melissa Etheridge had asked the different candidates, and is being gay a choice? And this was clearly a question to make Republicans look bad. And so, no, born this way, can't help it. Bill Richardson did not know the answer. He gave the wrong answer, saying that, well, it was a choice. And it turned out, obviously, to be a very uncomfortable situation. So there was a follow-up, and this is Governor Bill Richardson's statement clarifying answer from the HRC forum. New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson issued a statement clarifying an answer to a question during the Human Rights Campaign presidential forum in Los Angeles. The question came from panelist Melissa Etheridge, who asked if he believed homosexuality is a choice. Quote, "Let me be clear. I do not believe that sexual..." So he said the opposite. "I do not believe sexual orientation or gender identity happens by choice, but I'm not a scientist." The point I was trying to make is that no matter how it happens, we are all equal and should be treated that way under the law. I'm not a scientist. You find the left saying that quite often. 3 Palestinians accused of collaborating with Israel were executed by masked Hamas terrorists in front of cheering crowds in Gaza. This just less than a day after Canada, the UK, and some other country declared that they should have their own country. Yes, that would be a fantastic start. Look at them already getting started on that. Glenn Beck's coming up next. I'm Nick Reed.